Hello and welcome back to Mrs. R's Science Lab, aka my house. Today we have a really fun experiment for you. It has to do with food, which is always exciting, and chemistry. We are going to talk about states of matter. So before we get started, what are the three main states of matter? So the three main states of matter are solid, liquid, and gas. We can talk about plasma and things like that, but for today's demonstration, we are going to talk about solids, liquids, and gases, but specifically about solids and liquids. As you can tell by the title, we are going to be making ice cream at home. And we're going to do it with some pretty simple ingredients that you might even have in your own house right now. So even though you don't have a gallon or a half gallon of ice cream, you might have all that you need to actually make ice cream right now. What you're going to need today for the experiment is you are going to need measuring spoons. You will need a measuring cup. I've pre-measured everything out, so if you also want to do that, you can. You're going to need half and half. You could use milk or heavy cream as well, but your results may differ, but that would be a cool way to change up the experiment. You're going to need vanilla, just vanilla extract. You're going to need salt. So the store actually sells something called ice cream salt. I'm just using kosher salt today. You can use table salt, kind of whatever you have. But again, the results can differ based on what you use. You're going to need ice cubes. I've got 8 cups of ice cubes in a bucket over here because we're actually going to do 2 different experiments. We're going to make ice cream in one using salt, and we're going to make ice cream in the other without using salt and see what happens. So you'll need 8 cups of ice cubes. You're going to need resealable bags, so you're going to need 2 small ones, and then you're going to need 2 large ones. You're also going to need a towel. You can just have one, you don't have to have 2, but you're gonna need a towel to protect your hands. This is an absolute must. You have to have some sort of cloth, towel, or oven mitt to protect your hands for today's experiment. That's the main safety concern that we have today with our experiment. Other than that, you're just going to need the measurements, which I will tell you as we go along, and you're going to need a timer or a clock because we're gonna have to time out 5 minutes. Are you ready to get started? I am. So let's go ahead and get started on the first one, which is going to be with the salt. Grab your sandwich bag. You are going to place 1 tablespoon of sugar, half a cup of half and half. I just got regular, not name brand, but just Publix brand half and half. Go ahead and place that in there. Make sure you are using liquid measuring. And you're going to need 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I did not pre-measure this out just because it's so small. But this is what's going to make it vanilla ice cream. Now, what do you think would happen if instead of vanilla, we used other ingredients? Like, let's say I'm really craving chocolate ice cream. You could do it with chocolate, sure. You could do it with mint. You can do it with almond extract. You can use it with any kind of extract that you have around your house. You don't have to use vanilla. You can just use cream, but then it's just frozen milk, basically. So I went ahead and did my first bag. Again, there is 1 tablespoon of sugar. There's half a cup of half and half, and there is 1/4 of a teaspoon of vanilla extract. All have been carefully measured so that our results don't change. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing for the next small bag. All right, so I just did my second bag of the half and half sugar and vanilla. So now we have 2 identical bags of the sugar, vanilla, and half and half, which is exactly what we want. We want to keep it as even as possible. Next, we are going to add to each of our large bags, we are going to add 4 cups of ice cubes. So this will be our one with salt, the other one will be without salt. I've got half a cup of salt here. I know that seems like a lot, but we have a lot of ice. Before we start our experiment, what do you think the purpose of the salt is? Why would I even add salt to the bag? Why can't I just have ice in the bag? I want you to go ahead and make a prediction. If I add salt to the bag, then what do you think will happen? That's our hypothesis. Put one of my bags, doesn't matter which one because they're identical. I'm going to put that bag inside the bag with ice cubes, like this. So now you have the bag with the cream, sugar, and vanilla inside the bag with the ice and the salt. And please make sure that both bags are completely sealed shut. Next, this is, again, the most important part. Make sure that you have something cozy, something warm in order to mix your ingredients together. I'm using this dish towel and I'm going to wrap it in there. Okay, it's all wrapped in there. This is to protect my hands. It actually doesn't do anything for the experiment, but it might help me shake it a little bit better. And I am going to set a 5-minute timer to shake the bag. So 5 minutes starting now. After a few minutes, you're welcome to look at it and kind of feel the consistency of it. It seems like it's hardening a little bit to create my ice cream. Sorry, it's loud. We still have 2.5 minutes. All right, timer is up. We are going to go ahead and look at what we created. First of all, what do you notice? About this bag? So what you should notice is there's lots of salt crystals formed around the edges of the bag. There's also a ton of liquid at the bottom. And what do we notice? Ooh, it definitely looks and feels like ice cream. So at the beginning, we had cream, we had sugar, and we had vanilla, but they were all liquid. So then when we shook the bag, the ice crystals, along with the salt, were able to melt and transfer that cold to the ice cream, because while they melted, the ice cream was able to freeze, and we got some ice cream. I forgot that you should probably have a tasting spoon as well, because that's the most important part, right? I don't know about you, but that looks like ice cream to me. Yep, super delicious. Big chunks of ice cream. Oh, brain freeze. So, oh my goodness, that's delicious. I want you to look at this and think about this, because the next experiment that we are going to do with this is we are going to do the same thing, just without salt. I'm going to put this in my sink. I'll be right back. Hi, I'm back. So, what we just did was the one with the salt. Next, we are going to do the same thing with the other bag, but we are not going to add salt to it. So, let's go ahead and add, you know, I probably shouldn't be doing this while my baby is sleeping. So we are keeping all the variables the same except for the salt. So the salt is going to be something called our independent variable. An independent variable in an experiment is the one that we change. So we're keeping all the ingredient measurements the same, except we are not having salt in one of them and we are having salt in the other one. That way, when we do the two experiments and we're only changing one variable, we know what the cause of that change was, hopefully. So I've got my other bag, and I've got my ice, and I am going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to time it for 5 minutes on my timer. I'm going to use my towel. It has ice cream on it. I'm going to use my towel to protect my hands. And I'm going to shake it for 5 minutes. But before I shake it, what do you think is going to happen now that there's no salt in it? We are going to go ahead and get started. 5 minutes on the clock, starting now. All right, we're gonna check in with 2 minutes left. What I notice is that it still looks liquid. Interesting. I'm gonna keep shaking it for another 2 minutes. All right, time is up. Let's check on our cream. Uh-oh. What do we notice for this one compared to this one? So what you should notice is that with the lack of salt, the cream, sugar, and vanilla did not freeze into ice cream. It's like an ice cream soup. It's just a liquid. So we were successfully able to make a solid ice cream, which solid is a state of matter, with the one with the salt, but it was unsuccessful with the one without the salt. The reason for that is because ice, first of all, is a crystal structure. Ice forms crystals, and those crystals need an orderly form of the molecules inside of it. So the water molecules inside of ice makes it a solid because it's so orderly. Think of, I can show some pictures of solid, liquid, gas, but solid is more packed together versus a liquid's more loose. When I am shaking the bag, I am melting that ice, therefore causing those water molecules to move around. And now that they are moving around, they're becoming a liquid and they are melting the ice. In the one with the salt is now interfering with the melted ice. So instead of the ice freezing up, then the rock is preventing that ice to freeze up again, and it's actually converting that coldness to the cream and the sugar, that liquid mixture, and it's causing the ice to melt faster. So water, it freezes at 0 degrees Celsius, and when we put the salt in, it actually causes it to freeze below 0 degrees Celsius, which then causes liquids to turn into solids, like our ice cream. How do you think we can turn this mixture, the second one without the salt, how do you think we can now turn this into ice cream? So there's a few options. We could just add salt to this, shake it up, and then should have the same structure of solid ice cream. Or you can pop it in the freezer. What I'm gonna probably do is pop it in the freezer, and then I'll have 2 bags of ice cream. It's a nice, yummy, tasty, refreshing treat, especially here in Florida in the summer. So I hope you enjoyed making ice cream with me. I'm curious to know if your predictions were accurate or not, because it's interesting that you can do this experiment in many different ways. You could do it with changing the type of salt. So both bags could have salt, just different types of salt. You can also mix up instead of vanilla, maybe you want a different type of ice cream, and you can make strawberry ice cream, mint chocolate chip ice cream, whatever you want. Or you could even change up, instead of half and half, maybe you have milk or heavy whipping cream, and you can predict and then try it out for yourself. So this is a really good way to get your mom and dad to allow you to make ice cream at home. Enjoy your tasty treat. Enjoy your ice cream. I hope you had fun with me, and thanks for joining me at Mrs. R Science Lab. Bye.